Welcome to Show Em The Dore, the only podcast where I forgot to bring the jersey. So that's interesting. I'm your host, Willem, and that's Chris. And here we have our special guest, much awaited. I'll let you introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Cam Johnson. Recently played for the Vanderbilt football team for the past 4 years. Not originally from Nashville, Tennessee, so super excited to be on, and I really appreciate y'all letting me come out here.
We appreciate you coming out here. You threatened his mom. You were like, Mom, don't get it if you don't come on my podcast.
Yeah,
so that's why he's here.
We were having a rough time getting guests, so now we've resorted to threatening people.
It's working. So
yeah.
Introduce you guys, Chris.
It's a pleasure to have you on the pod. We know we've talked about this episode for the past couple, and we're excited that we're going to start getting more guests rolling. I know next week we have Ben Cox coming on.
True.
On the team, so maybe that's going to be exciting for the next few weeks. But this episode's all about you, Cam. So let's start with early life. So when did you first start getting into football or any sports in that matter?
So football was actually the first sport that I got into. I played football starting in kindergarten, tackle football, like right off the bat. When I first started, I was like a defensive player. I was bigger than everybody, so I just loved to go and hit people. I played defensive end and center.
Interesting combo.
Yeah. So then eventually, it's because I was over the weight limit. So eventually I moved to Kentucky my second grade year. They didn't have a weight limit for how much you could run.
There we go.
For being able to run the football. So I actually switched to running back, and I played some defense then. I think safety, I want to say maybe linebacker. And about that same time when I moved to Kentucky, I started playing basketball and baseball. And so just growing up, I sort of always played 3 different sports, whether it was basketball, football, and baseball, or when I got to Vanderbilt Academy, I started running track. So yeah, it's always been, football was my first love, and then basketball was right there with it behind it.
Was there like a person in your life that like made you want to play football, or like was like watching TV, or was like maybe like your dad played?
Yeah,
something like that.
So my dad did play football whenever he was in high school. That wasn't necessarily the person that made me want to play it. I think just the moment I was able to speak and things like that, I sort of was in love with sports in general, and football being the first game that I played. I mean, I was naturally, like I said, a bigger kid, so being able to go out and be aggressive was fun for me. But yeah, the moment I was able to talk sports, I would go to my mom's brother, my uncle, and literally have sports debate with him when I was like 4 years old, and he would love coming to talk to me about sports. So I've always just had a knack for sports and just loved them.
That's what's up. So, when you first got into high school football, actually, Chris, I don't know the next question, you do.
All right. Well, we were, when we were doing any kind of research, it said that you started playing AAU with Darius, and that's how you guys started making that friendship. You want to talk about that for a second?
Definitely. So, just by chance, I started playing travel basketball, I want to say 3rd grade. Small team in Kentucky, and it just so happened that I was one of the better players on that team, and they were going to take the head coach was going to take a couple guys and move them to a new team in Tennessee called WACG, who was trying to become like a national team. And so when I got there, one of the first people who sort of talked to me was Gavin and Darius. Gavin actually didn't like me at first, but that's a separate story. But yeah, Darius was another one that talked to me, and we instantly hit it off. We played together from fourth grade to 7th grade. And during that 7th grade year, our parents were sort of talking, and they're like, we want them to all go to high school together. Gavin's mom was like, well, we're going to this private school named Vanderbilt Academy. They've had some big time athletes come out of it in the past couple years and just over their span of being a school. So I think it'd be awesome. And Darius lived in Gary, Indiana, which his parents didn't necessarily feel was like the best situation for him as far as just lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And they also felt like being able to find more college attention would happen maybe in Brentwood. And my mom specifically was just like, we lived in a podunk town where I was in 5th grade biking across to the other side of the city in 15 minutes. So she was like, the biggest somebody makes from here is not very big. So we want to sort of get you out and see if you can go, if this is what you want to do, I want to let you chase your dreams. So that's what sort of brought us together.
I don't mean to like pry into your personal life by any means, but was that like a hard transition for you and your mom trying to go to Brentwood from Kentucky?
It was definitely hard. I mean, for me personally, it was hard just because I was leaving all my friends. That was all I had known since 2nd grade. So that was definitely tough. But on the other hand, it was also tough because the first 2 months, I mean, my mom had never owned her own house.
Mm-hmm.
She had never sort of done things like that. She had always rented, or like my grandfather was a landscaper or contractor in Kentucky. And so he owned a bunch of houses. So we would just live there. So seeing her, the way she struggled, like, I mean, I remember times where I would wake up in the car, we were outside the insurance, like the home insurance company, and she was just crying. So that was definitely hard, but it was also motivation, just like make sure that what she was doing was not in vain by making sure I made it to college.
No, yeah.
You're certainly making her proud. Doing well.
Appreciate it.
Doing well.
So then throughout high school, I mean, you kind of balled out at Brentwood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you started your freshman year, right? You were like a full-time starter. How was that first couple of years playing high school football?
It was unbeatable. I mean, you can't compare anything to high school football. I mean, when you're in high school, you don't believe it because you see, college football stadiums and you see, it's just full of people. But when you're in high school, you're literally playing for the love of the game. It's nothing. It's the most pure form of football to me, honestly. It was so fun just to be able to go out there in front of student sections and just play with the best friends that you grew up with for the past couple of years and you've made a ton of friendships with. So, I mean, for me, it was just a dream come true. It was so much fun, and I was blessed to be able to win a couple games along the way as well.
That's what's up.
So you went back-to-back state champs, though, yeah?
Back to back to back. I went
3. I'm sorry.
3 in a row.
Yeah. So after my freshman year, football season, I didn't lose another state championship. I won football, basketball, and track every year after that.
You mean you went to the state championship freshman year and you lost, and then you
we went to the quarterfinals.
Oh,
We had a
okay.
21-point lead and blew it.
Oh,
And then after that, every state championship I played in, or every tournament I was in for that, we won.
Do you have like a specific favorite moment from high school?
There would be two. It's the first state championship for me in both. So basketball wise, the first one was really special just because we were able to we were down by, I want to say 17 with like 4 minutes to go.
Wow.
And came back and won. So and that was the first basketball championship we'd had in years. So that was huge. And then football-wise, is I actually caught the game-winning 2-point conversion in double overtime against NBA in our first state championship that we won. We won 3 back-to-back. So that was awesome as well.
Did you have like a student mob the field kind of thing?
Oh yeah, everyone rushed the field. It was insane. Like I also go back and watch it sometimes to just get goosebumps. It's amazing.
That's the epitome of success.
Like you're like, yeah, my last 3 years of high school, I just didn't. Like you can
There
say
wasn't
that.
a loss.
I lost in every like meaning of the word in high school. That's great. What did you run in track?
So first 2 years I was a decathlete.
Oh, okay.
I did long jump, hurdles, 4x1 and 4x2. So those were my main 5 events. My junior year, I had tore my labrum, and I waited till track season to get the surgery, so all I could do was run. So I just did 4x1 and 4x2. And then I sort of went back my senior year, and I was like, I don't want to lose a bunch of weight before I go to college. So I would love to do all the other events, but as far as being a decathlete, I don't want to do that. So I didn't do decathlete.
Yeah. Did you ever consider like doing track or basketball even, beyond high school?
Yeah. So when I moved to BA, I was slight flex here. My 7th grade year, I think I was like the 7th or 8th best player rated in the nation. Now it's 7th or 8th grade. So, but at that point, I thought I had hoop dreams. And then freshman year came, I had stopped growing. I've been 6 foot since 7th grade.
Oh wow.
So I had stopped growing. And then I sort of started slipping. I got my first offers in football. And that was sort of when I started to realize, okay, maybe basketball won't be the thing. And then I think by my sophomore year, I sort of saw the picture a little bit clearer. But Vanderbilt actually, when Coach Drew was here, actually said that I was able to play both if I wanted to. And Coach Mason was fine with it. But it would have been more so just to play with Darius for another year.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him, he was like, dude, I want you to focus on football. I know that's where you're going to go pro at. So if you're not wanting to do it, don't do it. So that sort of ended right there.
What position you play in basketball?
I would technically be a point guard, but when you play with the number 1 point guard in the nation, you don't have that option anymore. So I played shooting guard and like small forward when I was in high school.
I get you. No,
I think that would have been great. Not to keep cutting you off, but I'm going to cut you off again. That would have been really cool
for you and Darius to have that whole journey together and then to play again in college. But like the unselfishness on both sides to be like, we need to focus on what we're both equally, as have the prospect in.
So to be able to be like, no, I have to focus, that shows a lot of like
you know, intention. I don't know why the
Right.
words are escaping me today.
Do you ever regret that decision? Like, do you ever wish you played basketball with Darius?
Sometimes, but that's more so just because I miss basketball. I still go to the rec and play. I wanted to find an intramural team, but it was only 3-on-3, so like I was looking for a 5-on-5
We'll
league.
get you for the next 3-on-3.
Sounds good. Just let me know. So yeah, I still love basketball and I miss it at times, but I don't think I regret my decision. I think it was probably for the best, and just as far as being able to be who I am as a football player
Yeah.
is what was needed.
So I guess moving to your college football career. So you started as a freshman, like a true freshman,
Right.
in the SEC, which that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then you played, I think, 4 games before you had an injury, right?
Right.
So talk about that. That process.
So basically, I got lucky. I mean, they had just put in the 4-game, you can play 4-game rule, and
Yeah, that's recent.
first game I didn't play that much. I had a decent camp. I wasn't a great camp. I won't even lie. It was just decent. So I didn't even expect to start. First game I played a little bit. Second game, I want to say against Nevada, was when I got the first game they gave me a little toss, which counted as my first college catch. But the second game against Nevada was where I really felt like I got my first catch.
Yeah.
And then go to Notre Dame. And I remember, for some reason, Coach Mason was on the sideline yelling at Coach Amo to put me in. And so I remember going in the game, and I had 2 big catches, maybe 15, 18 yards. I think one of them was on a 3rd down. And so that was where I really started to play a lot. I remember it was just crazy just being in that environment because there's so many people. And then
Game up at Notre Dame?
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's
awesome.
That's a stadium.
Yeah. And so then game 4, going into the week, Coach Moorhead, who was the receiver coach at the time, pulled me and CP aside and was just like, you guys are battling for a spot this week. Whoever has a better week of practice, I feel like is going to start. And so after that week, he was like, all right, Cam, you're going to start this game.
CP Chris Pierce.
Yes, Chris Pierce.
There we go.
And so going into that, I was super excited, super nervous. And I remember we had the rain delay. And right when we got back, first play from the rain delay, I was blocking. And
Against South Carolina?
yeah. And Keyshawn made a guy, he just sort of, somebody tried to arm tackle him and slung off, and he landed right on my ankle. Broken fibula and some torn ligaments. The crazy thing was, I thought it was a sprained ankle. So,
You thought you were good? You were like, you put me back in?
Coach Moorhead was just like, stand up, Cam. And so I stood up, and I immediately fell back down. And I was like, it's not a sprained ankle. And so he said he could see it in my eyes, but I remember my eyes just growing real big, and I was like, I can't. And I knew from that moment on that it was probably over with for the season. But honestly, it was probably for the best. It gave me a year to sort of get my strength up in my upper body and things like that. So,
Yeah, important gains. So moving away from the injury, really getting those chances, like you said, Coach Mason telling him to put you in and working you like that. What was it like, and what does it feel like to have a coach and a staff be like to believe in you at such a young age?
I think honestly it's one of the most important things, and it was something that was extremely important for me. I mean, coming in out of high school, and not having a great camp, it's easy to sort of lose a little bit of confidence. In high school I was riding high. I would go into the game and be like, there's no one who can guard me. And you sort of need
There was.
There really wasn't.
But I feel like you need to have that confidence in college as well. It just took me a while to get to that point. And so having the coach's confidence early on was something that sort of made up for that lack of confidence that I was having at the time. So just to have that support from Coach Mason and everything really meant the world for me.
So then coming back from injury the next year, and your career really here started taking off at that point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How was that next year after you got that strength up, like you were saying?
Yeah, so the next year it was up and down, I would say. I think early on it was a little bit down. I mean,
Coming back from an injury.
Right, coming back from an injury, sort of getting back into things, not playing 4 games of college football, but the speed is so much different than high school. So still trying to adapt to that. So I think about game 3 or 4 was when I really started hitting my stride. I got my first career touchdown against Purdue, had a touchdown against South Carolina, and then had the game-winning touchdown against Missouri that year. So I was able to sort of find my way throughout that year, and then it really set me up for my junior year, which I feel like has been probably my best year so far. But that was a really fun year. That was the last year we sort of had with Coach Moorhead, who I'm still super close with, and still had Keyshawn and Kalijah and those guys here. So it was awesome just to get to learn from them and see their work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite route that you run? Like, what's your go-to to salsa somebody?
if I have to sauce up somebody, I would probably say a choice route. My favorite route would probably be an inside fade.
Okay.
Yeah. Caught a couple of those throughout my career. So
Yeah. I mean, who were your quarterbacks throughout the years? I don't, I'm not trying to be disrespectful by that.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. So freshman year, we had Kyle, which was awesome. All the quarterbacks were honestly awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second year, we had Riley Neal, Deuce Wallace. They both sort of went in and out.
Yeah.
Mo Hassan played a little bit that year. And then the last 2 years, it's been Ken Seals, but then Mike Wright as well last year.
Yeah.
I'm only a sophomore, and so is Willem. And so, even though I'm from Knoxville, so I'm a UT guy.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to get better on Vandy football. But how was this year was a little bit of a back and forth, and it seems like through a couple of years it's been back and forth between quarterbacks. How is that in terms of like building chemistry for you?
I think it's tough. I mean, you get used to one quarterback and sort of how they want their routes run and the way they're doing things. And in the season, it's a little bit more tough to switch. Outside of the season, we try and work on things like that. You throw with all the quarterbacks at the same time to sort of try and make sure you don't have those issues. But, I mean, I think that this year it was pretty good. I mean, Mike did a good job of taking initiative after Ken went down with injury at first and sort of saying, hey, can you stay after? I want to talk to you about the way that you run this route, or I wanted you to do this, or when you do this, I'm giving you a free will to go inside or outside, or things like that. So Mike did a really good job of sort of taking the helm, but it's definitely tougher to switch quarterbacks midseason than what it would seem.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I didn't mean to skip over your junior year, by the way, because that was obviously your statistically, I don't want to say the best season, but statistically best season. So how was that like? I think before this year, coming off your junior season, you were ranked like a third team preseason All SEC wide receiver. How was that like going into junior year and leading into the expectations of your senior?
Yeah, you saying
like talk about your junior year and then how it led up into your senior.
Okay, so I would say my junior season, I was super excited. Honestly, I felt like it was the best I had been as a player, and that I was ready to sort of take off. And then whenever the OC came to me and said, hey, we're going to move, I'd played outside my first 2 years. I played slot in high school. And so whenever the OC came to me and was like, hey, we're going to move you back to slot, the offense that we run is, like, we need the slot to be performing well to go. I was super excited. And so the thing that was hard was not having the spring ball, because we had
because COVID?
Yeah, we had I think 3 practices, and then we went to spring break, and then we got back and there was no more spring ball. So that was hard, but we also did a really good job of online meetings and things like that. So learning the offense wasn't that bad, and I don't think learning any offense is really that bad. And so we got there, we get into the season, and game 1, it was like, I think I had 2 catches for 13 yards or 9 yards. And I was frustrated, in the camp I'd felt like I got the ball a lot, and so I'm just sort of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything. I mean, we had just lost a tough game. We felt like we could have won that one.
Which game was that?
Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I just sort of left it alone, and actually Coach Fitch at the time, who was the OC, came up to me and was like, hey, got to do a better job getting you the ball, things like that. And after that, it was like night and day difference. I mean, I think there was a game when I had 14 catches, a game when I had like 10 catches. So it was it was a really fun year. And I was really able to see that if put in the right situation, or even if I just was put in a different offense, that I'm able to be the workhorse that I want to be. And so leading into this year, I mean, being third team All SEC, I had, I want to say like 560, 600 or something yards in 9 games last year. And I felt like coming into this year, I was a better player, stronger, faster. And so really I was looking to have a 1,000-yard season and be able to go to the next level. But, things work out differently. The offense was a little bit more spread it out type football, which was perfectly fine with me. I understand that. And so I didn't see the same amount of targets as I saw last year, but I still had a blast playing. I mean, I thought the coaching staff was awesome and things like that. So,
you talk about how the fact, like, I feel like a lot of people who just like casually watch football, they don't understand that different offenses lead to different productions and receivers.
1,000%.
And I feel like when people look at somebody like your senior season, they're like, oh, he must have been bad that season. When really there's a lot of different factors that go into that. So what changed in your role from your junior to senior season in the offense?
I would say junior season, it was just the fact that I was like the primary target. The slot position in particular was the guy. I mean, you saw it with Ben Bresnahan as well. He would line up out of slot, and his production took a hit this year. And then I think this year was just, we had two new offensive coordinators in a sense.
Yeah.
Both sort of ran a pro-style offense, which was what we had saw my freshman year and sophomore year, where they had me playing outside because that's where the majority of the targets are going to go in a pro-style offense or West Coast. And so we had that coming back, and so I think that they just the route trees was more predicated on get us to the outside. There was last year Ken could give me a hot route and say, hey, run this route instead of the guy outside. This year it was more so he was giving hand signals to the guys outside. So I think it was just the fact that the targets were mostly focused on the outside guys this year, and I stayed in at slot, was where my production took a hit a little bit, and then just you sort of saw it with Ben as well.
Do you feel like you got more attention from DBs this year? Like I know when we were previewing football, I know just you were the first name to come up for us because I feel like going into this season you were easily our most productive receiver, and I was like, I projected you to have. I didn't think about the offensive scheme and how that might change. Yeah. But I was like, he'll have a great season, and not to say that you didn't, but you get what I'm saying. Oh, I just didn't want to be like, but it was interesting seeing like we've watched a lot of the games.
Yeah.
It's just, do you feel like you got more attention from DBs as well, or do you feel like it's more of a schematic thing?
Early on, I think I might have got a little bit more attention from DBs, but overall, I felt like it was more schematic and just. I would say for a slot receiver, I'm not your stereotypical just like scat, really quick slot receiver as far as like being fast. I feel like I'm quick in like my movements. And so for a new coach to come in, two new coaches, and in the past, even we had new OCs, Coach Mason was there and he had been with me for 3 years and was able to say, okay, this is what he does well. This is how you should use him. And this year, just coming in with a whole new coaching staff who didn't really watch the film from previous years.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted to start fresh. Wow. So that was perfect. I mean, and I got that. Like, they didn't want to make judgments based off of previous years. They wanted to make their own judgments. And so they didn't necessarily know what my skill sets were. And so I didn't do a ton like before spring ball. I practiced all spring ball. But they were still trying to install a system. They weren't necessarily worried about personnel at the time. So that's sort of where the schematics fell through. I mean, they knew that Will had a good spring game, and they saw sort of CP on the outside, and that's what they had focused on. So I think that's just sort of how it rolled.
Yeah. Another part of that is one heck of a receiving play last year. Yeah. Will Shepard, Chris Pierce, and you, that's incredible.
Definitely.
So it's hard when you got three guys that could be number one receivers.
Exactly.
So you got to share both. Well, it's really tough. What's it like to have to be like, okay, I've got so much greatness around me, so you got to sacrifice a little bit. What's it like, especially going from high school to college? Yeah. Because in high school, you're by and far the best.
Right. I would say at first it was tough. I'm not going to lie. Like, it was, especially just balancing the expectations I sort of had. And sort of feeling like if I didn't get this number, I couldn't go to the NFL or things like that on this specific year. So at first it was really tough for me. I mean, I struggled. I went and talked to the coaches, things like that. And it was just sort of having to talk with them and then realizing, like, this isn't high school. You don't want to be the only one. They're gonna double cover you, things like that. Sort of helped me cope with it, but also just the fact that, like, I just had to boil it down to I'm just playing football. I'm getting to do the thing I love. And the more that I got upset about it, the worse I was going to play. So I really just had to let it go and sort of be happy for those guys. I mean, Chris Pierce was in his last season of college football. Yeah. I mean, if he didn't have a great year this year, then, like, there's no telling what would happen, and he had that year. So finding ways to be happy for them as well was some things that you could do to sort of cope with it.
Do you think that was also probably compounded by the kind of, I don't want to say like inconsistent like quarterback play based on the fact that so many guys were coming in and out of the lineup?
I think it definitely changes things. I mean, the way that they play and sort of being able to be ready for scramble rules when you have Mike in, or knowing that Ken likes to get the ball out fast, so you got to sort of make your breaks quicker, or you got to be getting your eyes around. So it definitely changes things and sort of compounds things a little bit more and more.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the favorite place you've ever played in terms of like the stadium?
Ooh, I would say South Carolina at nighttime. My sophomore year was amazing. Notre Dame was an awesome game. And then, see, I didn't get to experience like Texas A&M when they had their full stadium, or Mississippi State full stadium cowbells. So those would sort of be disqualified. I would say Ole Miss at nighttime was a pretty fun place to play, being an opposing player as well.
What's the least favorite place you've ever played?
Least favorite that we went to, I would say Purdue.
Really?
Yeah, it was just like they're in the middle of nowhere. You go there, the
Purdue,
hotel's
Indiana,
terrible.
is nowhere.
Like just the whole accommodations that we had at Purdue was not amazing. Now the fans were great.
Yeah.
It was a fun place to play at, but just the overall experience of going to Purdue and playing was definitely not one of my favorite things.
They're a really passionate fan base, but I've
They
heard
are.
it's like there's nothing around it.
Nothing.
That's about
Nothing.
how it is.
I guess so how much free time do you guys get whenever you go on away games?
Ooh, it depends. So there's some away games where we would fly at 12 p.m. and get there at 2 or 3. Some games you would drive. It just really all depends. There's some games where we get there at like 8. So for sure you have meetings, and it depends. If you did the meetings before you get on the plane, you get there and you might have like an independent small meeting with your position coach if they want to do something the night before the game. But otherwise, you just have the whole night to yourself. I mean, your family's there. They want to make sure you get that time. You have a snack. But the only things that are mandatory a lot of times is just checking in for snack, even if you don't want it. And then also the dinner. Yeah. We have dinner when we get there. And bed checks whenever they come and check the rooms. So,
yeah, I feel
very important question real quick.
okay.
Dinner and snacks, what are they?
At every home game, basically, I would say dinner's the same. Dinner's going to be, they're going to have steaks there. They're going to have chicken there, grilled chicken.
So
they're going to have
steak, like a specific cut of steak, or is it just?
I want to say a sirloin.
Okay.
Of course.
Sirloin. They got chicken breasts, barbecue and regular, grilled. They're going to have macaroni and cheese, rice, things like that. But the biggest hit was honestly they had spaghetti and they had like meat sauce and all that. But they also, usually at home games at least, they had a make your own pasta bar where you had everything you could think of, spinach and peppers and mushrooms and all kind of stuff. So there was always a line, and everybody was always fighting over whose turn it should be to get to go first and go get in line. So that was probably the best thing. And then also the ice cream that we had. They would give ice cream the night before. And then snacks was always wraps or burritos or wing, like not grilled wings, baked wings. So it was always great food.
Yeah. Was your go-to the pasta bowls if the line wasn't too long?
Oh, I didn't care if the line was long. I was gonna wait, or I would go into the meetings, the offensive meeting with food in my hand if I had to. Like I was gonna get that pasta and my ice cream. I was gonna get both of them.
Was it like a certain flavor that you like, or like was it just vanilla or something?
Oh, they had the toppings.
They
had the toppings though.
It was like a full ice cream bar.
Ice cream bar on deck, caramel, Oreos, M&Ms, strawberries, anything you can think of.
What's the go-to?
Yeah, what's the topping?
Okay, so I'm gonna get me some vanilla ice cream, just plain.
Yeah.
I need about 3 scoops.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna
A bowl or a cone?
a bowl.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Perfect. So then I'm gonna get my Oreo. I'm gonna get the Oreos from the spoon. Got to make sure it's even though. You can't just put
it's all
a
about placement.
Yeah, you can't just throw it on. You gotta make sure it's even. Then I'm gonna take about 2 scoops of strawberries, throw it on there, and then I'm probably gonna put my whipped cream on there. And then after the whipped cream, I'm gonna get the spoon from the caramel and make sure it drizzles all over.
Yeah.
Were
you an artist?
Oh, I had to be. Chris Pierce always came over with his little ice cream bowl and took pictures of it and was telling us how he had the best looking ice cream. So we would have to sort of try and make sure we kept up a little bit. He always did have the best looking though. I'll give him that.
Really?
He did.
Okay.
He took his ice cream very seriously.
As you should.
I've heard that Chris Pierce is also like a really well dressed guy.
Yes.
Was he like was he the like best dressed on the team, or do you think there was a big competition there?
Ooh, he was up there. When James Bostic was here, he was one. Anthony Orgy.
Oh,
he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He dresses pretty well. Max Worship, when he wants to, can dress pretty well. So I would say it's a mixture of those 3 guys. But I think CP might take the cake just because he can dress for any occasion.
Yeah,
like he came to Thanksgiving meal dressed fresh. You'd see him out, he was dressed fresh. Like
Yeah, I've seen him walking just around campus, and I'm like,
hey,
I woke up 15 minutes ago. I'm like,
And he's full on,
and
I mean, he's. I think he's one of the guys who sets it out the night before and like
I wouldn't be surprised.
wakes up and comes to practice in his fit, changes, and then gets in the shower and puts it back on. So he takes it serious.
He's
But
that kind of guy. He's like,
sure.
okay, if I wear this tomorrow, this the next day.
right,
Yeah,
It's like meal prepping, but it's like the whole week.
That's it. So, in the realm of superlatives of the team, more important questions. We've gotten through best ice cream,
Best dressed. Who's the best dancer on the team?
oh, Max Worship.
Really?
That's not.
Really?
That didn't even take me
That
very
was
much
no
time.
hesitation.
No, Max Worship. I mean, I would say there's a lot of guys who think they can dance. Q, Quincy Skinner, he's actually a pretty good dancer. It's all the Florida guys. All the Florida guys always hog the dancing titles. But
Florida.
Elijah McAllister, he's one of my best friends. You know, he's a decent dancer. He likes to think he's a lot better than what he is. But he's actually a good dancer. Michael Owusu, he's a good dancer. But yeah, if I had to pick one, I would say Max.
Well, we guessed earlier when we talked about it.
Who'd y'all say?
I think we guessed.
I think I guessed Anthony Orgy. I just
Yeah.
feel like he'd be good at it.
You guessed Anthony.
I don't even know if I've seen Anthony dance much.
Really?
He's not a big dancer.
Well,
I don't
there's
know.
the issue.
I also feel like Jalen Mahoney. would be
Jalen
good.
Mahoney.
I feel like he'd be
No, Jalen doesn't. Jalen is quiet. Like
Really?
you see him on the football field, and he looks like an alpha, and he is on the football field. But outside of football, like unless he's like close with you, he's sort of reserved and quiet.
Yeah, he is
But,
pretty quiet.
yeah, he's not a
Yeah.
big dancer.
He also left us on red.
We DM'd him. He follows our podcast on Instagram. Follows on Instagram. He follows us, so we DM'd him. Like,
Yeah.
maybe 2 episodes in, and we're like, "Hey man, we have this podcast."
Would you like to come on sometime? Are you free? He read it within 2 minutes and then never responded.
Wow, I'll hit him up. I'll see if he'll pop up. I'll say, hey, why?
His mom is the
Yeah, that's
That's
the
the
issue.
problem.
You got to.
Dog.
No, we talked about that for like 3 episodes. We were like, the podcast that still hasn't gotten a response from Jalen Mahoney.
We milked that bad boy.
Yeah, we did for a while.
What are the superlatives you got, Chris?
Well, we have the one that, okay, so when we asked Spencer Jones this question, this is one that we had to cut out of the podcast. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's not that serious. So imagine you had a sister, right? Who would you not let date your sister on the football team?
It's a classic question.
I mean, there's a bunch of people I wouldn't let date. There's a bunch. If I had to go off
Just
the top, Elijah McAllister is a heartbreaker.
Oh man.
I might have to go E, but I wouldn't want to do it. He's also a lover. He's a lover, but he's a heartbreaker.
So it's the duality.
I might have to go with Amir.
Do you think?
Amir, I might not let date my sister. You know.
Amir got the earring. That's how you know.
Yeah.
He's an absolute heartbreaker.
Amir is.
Going back to E, do you think that he would be more inclined to be like good to your sister because it's you, or do you feel like that it doesn't matter?
I think he would start off with very good intentions. He would definitely try not to break the heart, but I just feel like eventually it would happen. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because it's me, he would be like, I'm gonna.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, but I don't know. I got to give it to Elijah McAllister right now.
Yeah, going back to Amir for a moment. We have a history with Amir.
Oh, really?
Us in particular, you and I.
Yeah, you guys.
So you on your story one time posted the drawing of Amir.
Yeah.
And I said, you were like, rate the picture. How is it?
Yeah.
And I said,
he doesn't have a beard. In the picture, 7 out of 10.
it was a great drawing, but he just lacked all facial hair. What's up with that?
Are you talking about on my drawing?
Yeah.
So basically, I was in class and I wasn't paying attention.
What class?
What class was it?
It was Lori Wood's criminology. Lori Woods, if you see this, you know I love you. I took like 7 of your classes. I apologize.
Really?
Yeah. But that's the problem with taking so many of her classes. There's certain days where like I had already learned that 3 times, so I'm like,
She keeps saying this.
yeah.
No,
So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I had drawn Amir before, like just for some reason, just as a joke, and he hated it. So I was like, I'm just gonna draw. I was like, I'm gonna draw Amir today. So I started to draw him, and he, of course, didn't like it. He was like, I hate it. He doesn't look anything like me. But I was in a rush. Like I finished the picture right as class ended, and I wanted to be able to like show him right when class ended. So I didn't get to draw the whole beard. I apologize. I appreciated the honest rating because it was true.
Yeah.
If I had the beard, but I'm also not very good at like the whole cross hatching thing to make
Fair
the
enough.
beard look good. So
It's tough.
I feel like it would have taken away from my amazing drawing.
Who would you say is the best artist on the team? Have you seen any? Has anybody shown prowess? Prowess in art? I don't know.
I have not. I guess I got to give it to me because I draw some pretty nice portraits.
There we go.
Best artist.
That's it.
But that's all I've seen so far, so I guess that's not really
Of the
fair.
sample size of just you.
Yeah.
that's-
Going back for a like, Amir is a huge dude.
Oh yeah.
Like, I have seen him in like dining halls and stuff, and like, I mean, I'm like maybe like around 6 foot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm small, but like, I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
he's huge. Oh my god, I didn't have anything from that. I was just, oh
Yeah,
my
no,
god.
Who's the most intimidating guy on the team?
Ooh, intimidating. I would say that's hard for me this year. I would say like my freshman year, it was 1,000% Charles Wright.
Charles Wright.
I don't
He
know
was
that
pretty
is.
intimidating. This year, if I had to pick, it might have been Lorenzo Surgers. Only because I've seen Lorenzo fight before. And Lorenzo can fight.
Yeah.
His hands are valid. So that might be why I say Lorenzo.
Yeah. PSA. Don't mess with it.
Hold on.
He has
For a second, Show Em The Dore does not condone violence.
No violence condoned. I just happen to be a bystander
We're
one time.
not going to get a strike on YouTube for this.
We're just the witnesses of
Yeah, but
this. Shoot, what else we
that's
got?
funny. Well, I guess we can talk about like your future at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in the transfer portal at this
Yeah.
point. Or is that like a dead set thing? Like, do you have any more eligibility to come back if that was like what you wanted to do?
Yeah, technically, so Coach Lee wanted me to stay. I had another year I could have stayed. I am pretty sure I would have gotten into grad school. I just chose that. I just felt like it was my time to sort of go somewhere else.
Right.
But I mean, I would never say never
Mm-hmm.
to that question, honestly. I mean, if Coach Lee was reached out and wanted me to, it would be something that would definitely be put into consideration. But as of right now, I would say it's pretty locked that I'm going to be gone.
And so we were talking a little bit before the podcast that you had some interest. Do you want to save that for later, or do you want to talk about it? Or?
We could talk about it. I've had a couple teams hit me up. You know, it's really hard with me not going until May because most schools want a mid-year guy because you're able to learn the offense, you're able to get around the guys early.
Right there.
Versus going in May and you're basically like a freshman.
Yeah, because you're getting a degree.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
I had to. I mean, I came here originally. One of the reasons was for the degree.
Yeah, exactly.
And Vanderbilt's a great school.
Yeah, props to you for that.
And so there will be a bunch of schools hit you up, and then they find a mid-year guy. But that enrollee period is sort of over. So now it's all focused on guys that they want to come through in May. And that I would say, so I've said, like I said before the show, Iowa's hit me up, Ole Miss has hit me up, SMU, Wake Forest hit me up at one point, WKU. It's really been so many places it's hard to keep up with, and it's just about finding the one that is really going to take the chance on me and sort of give me the best situation to thrive. I mean, I technically have 2 years of eligibility left, but I really want it to be a 1-year thing and sort of
go to NFL.
Yeah.
Go pro.
So I mean, coming from somebody who's kind of biased towards the SEC, I would maybe because I don't know like all their offensive systems, I would be biased towards Ole Miss in that circumstance because as much as I personally dislike Lane Kiffin, he's a great offensive.
Oh, he is.
He's an amazingly talented offensive coach. And, I think a lot of their receivers are pretty much gone this year, right? Like, they're going to the draft.
I think three of their top, like their top three or maybe their top four all
they had some talent
left for the draft.
And Corral's leaving.
Yeah.
Which
I mean,
is
but they just got Jackson Dart.
Yeah, they got some. They got some
guys
down there in Oxford.
And Lane Kiffin
is brilliant.
He is.
I don't like the guy. The personal.
Yeah.
I
was at the. We were both at the Ole Miss Tennessee game where everyone started throwing stuff on the
I bet
field.
that was a fun game.
Oh, that was a great. He'd
nuts.
never been to a college football game other than Vanderbilt ones before.
Oh.
I don't mean to disrespect.
No, you're good.
Stadium, but like it's not the same as Neyland.
No, going to Knoxville's insane.
Oh, it's nuts.
And it was checkerboarded that day too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a lot of fun. But
Lane Kiffin.
but yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to, I don't know anything about football.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would be, from the outsider's perspective, a pretty solid opportunity if that's where.
Yeah, definitely.
To go.
Yeah, I think that they've got to sort of figure out where their numbers are. But I mean, if that opportunity presented itself, that's definitely one that would be in my top schools immediately, just because of the fact that it is Lane Kiffin. They did just have 3 guys go to the NFL in just in general, Ole Miss puts
Yeah,
wide
I
receivers
mean,
into the
they
NFL.
AJ
Dudes,
Brown,
yeah.
DK, these last three
They
guys.
both-
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Dawson,
Ole Miss
even
and
Dawson
DK.
Knox.
Dawson
That's
Knox.
it. Yeah.
So they produce. It's all about setting yourself up for the right.
Right.
Ole Miss.
And that's what you got to do.
Right.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Yeah.
I know we'll be Cam Johnson fans over the end.
I appreciate
so
it.
Even if you do play for Lane Kiffin, I think it'll.
If you ever come to Vandy, you got to come back on the pod for that weekend.
I got you. I mean, if I went to Ole Miss, I would be here. They play at Vanderbilt next year at Vanderbilt, so
So you got to come back for a second episode.
I got you. If that happens, I'll definitely come by.
Do you have a timeline for when you think you're gonna figure that out? Or
I would say probably late March or early April, just because.
So, like, while we're in
Mark your
school,
calendars, folks.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
because I sort of want to be able to go there and maybe take a Maymester just to be on campus,
yeah.
learn
Get
things like
acclimated
that.
to the situation.
Yeah, but also I want to give myself enough time to where there could be an injury in spring ball to somebody's person, and as bad as that sounds, it's sort
I mean,
of.
that's an opportunity.
it's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could step up.
It happens.
Yeah.
You know that.
And so if that happens, there might be a school that I really like, and I feel like that's a situation for me that I can jump into. And if not, I feel like I have schools right now who I'm talking to who I would be comfortable going with as well.
Do you have like a dream, like say like you didn't go to Vanderbilt, all that kind of stuff? Was there like a dream school where if there was a perfect opportunity, you would have loved to go there?
Growing up, it was USC.
USC.
Wow.
I mean USC
Reggie
back in the
Bush.
day, yeah.
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 That I just became enamored with them, and as I got older, sort of phased out of it. But then when I got back in high school, I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist, so I was back on the USC train.
Yeah. I mean, they just got Oklahoma's
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
He's
so that'd be cool to sort of go to where I would like my childhood dream. I would say I wouldn't really say I had another just dream school after that, to be honest.
yeah, I get you.
Marine biology?
Yeah, weird story. I went on an 8th grade like trip. We did snorkeling.
Oh,
I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Yeah, it was at like Discovery Cove in Orlando. So it was a bunch of fish, and I got to swim with dolphins and stuff. I thought it was the coolest thing. So then
What's your degree
Yeah.
actually in?
I was about to ask.
HOD. I'm HOD major.
HOD,
here.
there we
I'm
go.
also
Yeah.
an HOD major.
Perfect. Hey, the capstone is tough.
What'd you do
Lots
for-
of work.
What'd you do for capstone?
I'm in my internship now.
Oh, where?
So I do an internship with a small succession planning consulting firm in Brentwood.
Oh, okay, that's really
that's
cool.
what's up.
I guess
Yeah.
that allows you to keep with like football and stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
HOD majors.
I guess I'm not. We thank you for coming. I think we're pretty much good for this episode, but thank you for coming on the pod. It was a pleasure to
Thank
talk to you.
Yeah.
for-
Is there anything else you want the world to know right here? The word
Yeah,
from
you-
Cam
you have a
Johnson.
platform.
The final word.
Go follow me on Twitch.
Oh,
Cam Johnson
yes.
_23 on Twitch.
What do you
I'm the
stream?
best student athlete Warzone player that you'll ever watch.
Warzone.
There we go.
Book it.
You say Cam Johnson _23.
Yep, Cam. There it
Well,
is.
we'll get it in the description.
Put that bad boy in there. Follow him. We gotta do it. You gotta stream.
League of Legends.
Bro.
Sob.
I would hate my life if I did
Oh
that.
gosh. Yeah. So
But
we're the only podcast that endorses Cam's streaming.
true, officially, we do on LinkedIn if we could. But
Yeah, it's been good.
yeah, it's a great.
Tune in next week. We are going to get Ben. It's going to be great. Again, we thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all for having me
We
on.
don't have the jersey, which is a huge
Yeah,
bummer because
normally-
I'm a fool.
Yeah, normally our thumbnails when we have the people on is them signing the jersey, but if you ever have a second, maybe you can come.
Yeah,
down and
I
sign
definitely
it.
We
will.
will probably
But-
hold your mother hostage for an elongated period of time to give you the incentive to come back here to sign it.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
if
I
you
got
ever
you.
if you ever want to come back on, talk about anything else, and of
Definitely.
course, welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.